All right. So, Chris During, thank you
Hi.
for doing this. You are the producer of well, what are we calling the thing in Berlin?
What are we calling the thing? Well, the thing is actually called the AI and RPA World Summit. And this is, in fact, the fourth edition already. So we've been doing it for a couple of years. Yeah. And that's not in Berlin. In fact, it's in Dusseldorf.
It is it?
It is. I hope you did not book any flights to Berlin.
We're gonna
So
have to check that, I think.
I think you should.
Yeah, that'll change things. Well, I will be there, so we're
You
kind of
will. Yes. Very excited about that, actually.
yeah. As am I. I was at the second one. I think I skipped a year last year. And so, for the benefit of folks who are kind of watching this to really just understand a little bit about the program, thematically, what are we to expect here in June of 2019 at the World Summit?
So there's two things to focus on here. One, I think, is content-wise, which I would call like the three pillars of intelligent automation. One is still, it's very important, still widespread, is classic RPA, which is just the implementation of robotic process automation. And with that, we really want to go beyond what we've talked in the past, which was mostly focused on deployment and getting started in it. And most companies are already beyond that point. So they want to look beyond that. They want to go scale it up. They've had their pilot projects. They've implemented their center of excellence. And now they want to look at how do we go beyond that. So it's all about mature use cases for that. Then the second one is I would call them sort of more advanced technologies, right? So we're talking AI, we're talking as part of that, all these cognitive technologies, we're talking machine learning, right? And the third one is actually very cool, in my opinion, because it's like a combination of both, right? It's cognitive RPA, intelligent bots, where for a lot of companies, it's not quite as feasible because of the access to data, as well as just the sheer amount of investment necessary for a true neural network to get into AI. So they're looking at something where you can combine something like the cognitive techniques with RPAs to create smart bots. So that's something that's very exciting at the moment because a lot of companies are looking into it.
Dive in on that kind of hybrid approach, I guess we could call it. How would you unpack that a little bit, or how are you unpacking that?
Right. So I'll give an example for that. One of the things that people are using, for instance, is let's assume you have a website, right? And let's assume you're getting general inquiries through the website all the time because you have info@website.com, right? And so you get a lot of emails through that. One of the ways you could do it, and it was probably done in the past, is where you have people sift through that and then organize, okay, where are these different emails, inquiries directed at, right? So that'd be one thing to do it. Now, one thing you could have done in the past is where you just go a very simple script you look at the subject matter, and if the subject matter hits a specific term, then you say, if that term is there, then direct it to that department, right? A lot of the times, however, the subject matters are not that clear, unfortunately, so a simple if-then clause, which most scripts are, doesn't really help. So what you can do now is add something like a natural language processing algorithm to the mix, right? And there it just basically looks at the semantic fields within the email to just kind of try to figure out, interpret the text, understand the text. What are they trying to do here? What is the actual inquiry? And then you add a bot to that. Well, the bot then says, oh, okay, my natural language processing algorithm has now categorized for me what the email is about. And now the bot just simply says, okay, if it's that category, it goes to that department. If it's this category, it goes to that department.
Decisions on intentions.
Pretty much, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So
that's one thing. Sorry. That's the one thing sort of on the content side that I wanted to stress. So those are the things that we're looking at in terms of what are we talking about. The other thing that I find quite exciting, what I also want to talk about, is in terms of how are we talking about that. So we want to really keep it a very engaging and interactive event, which is why we have over 70% of all the sessions are actually interactive sessions. So we're talking deep dives, mini workshops, actual workshops. We've got a live cooking show for machine learning, which is basically like, think of MasterChef, right? MasterChef AI, where someone will show you how an actual machine learning algorithm is being programmed, what that looks like. We've got build a bot workshops. We've got a bunch of breakout sessions, roundtable, interactive discussion groups, and all that good stuff for people to actually really dig in and share the actual experience on their automation journey with one another.
Perfect. So that's content, that's structure. I'll put you on the spot. Who are some of the interesting? All of the speakers, of course, are interesting.
Of course.
All of the organizations that are involved are fantastic. Who comes to mind when I ask you, though, who's going to be there? Who to expect?
Right. What I love about these cross-industry conferences is, like you said, there's a wide array of speakers from all bunch of different industries. One of the ones that we're going to have on site is Peter Barber, who's the director from Allsted, Ireland, who's going to talk about something very exciting in terms of voice transcripts and virtual assistants. Then we also have someone that's going to be quite exciting. It's a live demo by Nina van Krimpen from ExxonMobil, who's going to talk about the happy process flow. We do have a whole focus day on the first day all about data excellence, because as I said earlier, with the whole further investment into AI as well as these hybrid models, data is becoming the key for the future for all of these companies. So on that focus day, for instance, we have someone like from ING, Firat Akçaray, from Turkey, who's going to be there, Mark Wilson from Handelsbanken UK, and Dr. Sebastian Foucault from Sing, who's going to hold a workshop there as well. And yeah, there's going to be quite a few exciting speakers at the event, from BMW to Renault to which is the automotive sector, all the way to Deutsche Telekom, Deutsche Bahn, and the whole array of companies and industries, if you will.
Yeah, definitely sounds. Obviously, there are plenty of folks from Germany. Sounds like greater Europe as well, and it does sound like a touch of an international feel to the speaker delegation.
That's the idea of a world summit. I mean, we have heard that also in the past, that when we've had these events, obviously since it is in Germany, it is quite German-centric. So we made a specific effort this year to reach out more to people from the Nordics, from the UK, Switzerland, Spain. We have a couple of people from India joining us as well, like Utpal Chakraborty from Yes Bank, which I'm very excited about, because he's very active in that space, where he's going to talk about a layered approach to neural networks to really drill down on the exception queues. So that's definitely something very exciting to look forward to.
That all sounds good. I'm even more excited than I was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So thank you for your time. I don't know how well you know the podcast that we do on the AI and Intelligent Automation Network, but I usually ask 3 final questions on every interview. I'll spare you the first 2, but I must ask you the final question, which I always ask in any kind of interview, which is on the soundtrack of your life, one track, one song that's got to be on there. What might you suggest? Of course, I'm thinking it's going to be a Kraftwerk song.
Now, of course, you would think that. It's not, unfortunately. I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but I am going to say it's probably going to be U2, since it's my favorite band. And I know, specifically with the disaster a couple of years ago with the iPods and everything, loads of people love to hate on them. But yeah, that's my choice, and I stand by it.
So you're going back, of course, before that ever happened, I think, is when you would have come to know the band.
I mean, if you're talking U2, you're talking Achtung Baby, obviously. Berlin, you know.
Of course. Chris, thank you so much. We'll check in with you.
Thanks,
obviously at the show. Maybe we'll put up another one of these of, your key takeaways from the show itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. I'd love that.
Perfect.
And then we will still talk about having you on for a live podcast at the event as well, I hope.
That, of course.
Okay.
We'll see you there, sir.
Yeah, see you there.